I've been a member of the National Youth Theatre now since 2023 when I did my intake course, which means I think that I'm in my second year of membership at the National Youth Theatre. And I think sometimes people are aware of the big name of the National Youth Theatre, but it's hard sometimes before you've actually been involved to actually be able to define what opportunities are involved, what kind of opportunities it provides you, what the National Youth Theatre actually is. So I thought I could do a video on that now. I've been a part of it for a while, and I've been, to be honest, a little bit hesitant about making this video because I just know that the intake course, like at face value, looks like a large amount of money to pay, like £600 fees. Sounds like a lot because £600 is a lot, and I didn't pay for accommodation, so it was a bit less for me, but then it's £600 again if you get accommodation, so I know that that's quite a lot of money, obviously, but there are bursaries and ways around that. But I've just been hesitant because I guess I like to talk about accessibility to the industry, and I didn't know what people would think because I have obviously spent a lot of money and that is a privilege, but I just think that because it's such a large amount of money, and they do try and make it accessible, and they are trying to diversify the people who are joining the National Youth Theatre, like they're trying to make it more geographically diverse and more different incomes joining, because it used to be, and I think they're quite open about it, that it used to be more like very upper middle class people, mostly from London based, and they're really doing a lot of work to try and change that. And I think that's partly not their fault because the industry as a whole is quite a lot of people who are quite upper middle class and London based, so it's not their fault that those are the people getting involved in theatre opportunities. I am aware that obviously it is a big privilege to be able to spend £600 on an acting course, but I had auditioned for a few years, so I was saving up and trying to prepare myself to spend that amount of money, and I am lucky that I live at home, so I'm able to save up. And also I thought of it sort of as an investment because National Youth Theatre does provide great training and you learn a lot from it, and also the name itself is quite helpful, so I just thought that if I pay £600, like there is a chance that this is something that I felt personally for me could lead me to earn substantially more than that in the long term throughout my career. And to be honest, actually, if you look at prices for your average classes for acting, like acting classes are expensive, and this course is full-time for 2.5 weeks. You're doing 5.5, sort of 6 days actually a week, because there were optional classes on a Saturday afternoon. Saturday morning was compulsory, so it's a lot of hours of acting training. So when you average it out across the days, that's what, like £40-50 for like an entire day of training, like sometimes 9 until 5. So actually it works out quite cheap in the like terms of acting classes at an hourly rate. It's just because it's a big expense all in one, and I think there are a lot of classes that are like courses like this that are a lot more money. But I think there are 3 main ways that the National Youth Theatre really helps you along your acting journey, or has helped me along my acting journey that I've seen. And the first is that it's a big name, and I think that provides a lot of opportunity, and people are aware of the kind of training that it provides and the kind of demeanour and professionalism you then might approach projects with, which I think is helpful and useful. And it was a big talking point in my agent meeting. I feel like without doing National Youth Theatre I wouldn't have the agent that I have now. Maybe I'm wrong, but like I think that was, either way, it was like a big major point in me getting my agent. Also, I think it really changes you as an actor and as a person when you're immersed with people who are from various different parts of the country, various different training backgrounds, and you're with them training for 2.5 weeks full time. I feel like that teaches you a lot about yourself as a person. Like, it's quite an introspective process, but also it teaches you a lot as an actor, and you're not going to go into a process like that and then come out the same actor out the other side of it. And everyone's experience will be really different because they will be taught by different people and there'll be different focuses, but I feel like there is a big focus on creating a safe, non-judgmental space in the National Youth Theatre and being part of an ensemble, and I feel like you really learn how to be in a professional space. So the first thing I've done through the National Youth Theatre, which everyone has to do in order to become a member, is the intake course, and you can do this, I think, in person, condensed into 2.5 weeks. You can do it in weekends, you can do it online. There are various different formats and options, but I decided in the end that I wanted to do it 2.5 weeks in person, because if I was spending the money, I really wanted to immerse myself in the process, and I felt like that was going to be the way that I could get the most out of it. And I think that is the most intensive period of acting training that I've done. Another thing that happens in the National Youth Theatre is casting workshops that happen annually, and I think they've changed the format for these this year, because it used to be a whole day, but then there are different variations. Some are like 3-hour casting workshops, or there's casting weekenders where you do a devising project and then you get considered for castings based on that. But basically they consider you for various different projects throughout the year of the National Youth Theatre, and also it's the way that they consider you for the rep company. And after you've done your intake course, the membership each year is actually only £35, so then I think the pricing is a lot less, and there are many different free courses, free workshops that you can do as part of your membership. And one of the ones that I really like to do is the facilitation training, and I think sometimes people outside of the National Youth Theatre have found it difficult to get to that kind of professional standard of facilitating, but I'd really like to get into acting teaching and sharing that and creating a really safe space to be able to teach acting, because I think it's a very emotionally vulnerable thing, and that's a big responsibility to take on, and I would want to make sure that I'm really prepared to do so. And the facilitation training is also sort of your interview audition process to assist on the intake courses, because you can be employed as an assistant or various different roles. I think there's a few different roles that you can be employed as for the intake courses. So that's something that I like to do each year, because that's something within the industry that I'm really interested in going into. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm grateful that I'm a part of the National Youth Theatre, because I think otherwise it's difficult to get experience in that area and get that kind of training. There are ways, but I am just glad that I have that opportunity. Recently I've also done a writing workshop with the National Youth Theatre, and writing wasn't something that I've done loads of, but I think it's a really interesting thing to get into, because I feel like I'm quite an ideas person creatively, but then I would struggle to structure that and write that down. And I've been interested in creating my own projects, but I think it's important to have the skills, and I want to feel like I have the skills to be able to turn that into an actual thing. So I found that really interesting, and it was very much encompassing all different areas of writing life, getting funding, and I feel like it's so nice to be able to have such experienced teaching. And I think the people who teach you at the National Youth Theatre, that's one thing that I do like, is that they do have a lot of experience behind them, and there's a certain standard of teaching with the National Youth Theatre, which I like. Also on the website there is the members board, which is where they compile loads of external opportunities that they've seen, and also sometimes there's the various different ticket opportunities to, I guess, get reduced tickets for National Youth Theatre members. So I think that's interesting to keep your eye on. You have to keep logging into the website, but that's something else that's involved in the National Youth Theatre. So I think it's very difficult to summarise, because everyone's experience will be different, and also everything that you do within the National Youth Theatre will be different, because there are so many different members, and there are so many different makeups of different groups. Like the demographics will be different in each group, and you will have a different experience in each thing that you do. So I find it quite difficult to explain or go into that aspect of stuff. So I just thought I'd explain the key different ways that you can be involved, or I have been involved, with the National Youth Theatre. And if you have any questions, then please let me know in the comments. Please subscribe to continue following my acting journey, and if you have any other videos you'd like me to make about this, then please let me know. And thank you so much to everyone for watching. Thank you, bye!